Hello, this is the last of 3 videos in our trauma-informed caregiving series on connection, brought to you by Resilient Winona County. I continue to be Sarah Johnson. This is video number 3, quick connection building tools. So, as you may recall, we are talking about the importance of trauma-informed care in building resilience in ourselves and others. Resilience, as we may know, is our ability to adapt, cope, and thrive, and it's grown through connection. We've talked a lot about the importance of social connection that helps build resilient kids who grow into healthy, connected, and resilient adults. So, I want to take a pause. In our last video, we pretended like you asked me, and I was real in my response to you, how are you? Instead of doing a longer check-in, we're going to do a quick battery check. And I'm just going to ask you in this moment to take a pause and notice how charged is not your phone battery, your personal battery. So on a 1 to 5, 1 being very low charge, need to get plugged in, need to recharge soon. A 5 being supercharged, fully charged, ready to roll. Where are you? I would place myself at about a 3, I think, because the day is getting lower, not fully out of charge, but getting there. I'll ask you, why might it be valuable to do an emotion check-in like the battery charge? So why might you yourself check in? What is your charge? Well, there's probably a lot of reasons. One, we need to know how we're doing so we know how to respond. That might be as simple as like, oh, I haven't taken a drink of water in a while. Helpful. Or, my battery charge is low. I'm probably not in good shape to respond to this email or respond to my boss with something that's making me nervous or anxious or frustrated, right? I maybe need to get a little bit more battery charge so I can be a little more effective in how I'm responding to things. It's also helpful because it's good modeling for other people. So much like in our last video, you asking how are you and you being honest and genuine in your responses, that shows people how to build that culture of mental health, that culture of connection. It shows people the skill of being authentic and truly checking in, identifying emotions, identifying coping skills. An emotion check-in, a quick one like this, gives you that opportunity many times throughout the day to be able to be more effective and more responsive. So if you notice that your stress level is high and your energy battery charge is low, what do you need to do to try to reverse that so that you can be more effective? So I will challenge you to consider why, when, and where this might be helpful to implement something like a battery check or another emotion check-in. On the other hand, I also will ask you the same questions. Why, when, and where might it be helpful to implement this with others? Well, as somebody who's doing youth serving work, it can be very useful to give you at the beginning or during a transition or any time that there's maybe some disruption or challenging behavior. That's a really great time to do a check-in because maybe everybody's battery charge is really low because we have been sitting and listening to a lecture and our attention spans are starting to spin. Or maybe it's because we're hungry or we're getting tired or because it's hot in this room. And it can give us an opportunity to check in and maybe recenter, refocus. It also can give us a chance to get out ahead of potentially challenging behaviors. So if somebody's coming in hot to our program and we know that their battery is low, that can really be a good time to get ahead and try to get things centered, try to recharge that battery. Maybe it's something as simple as just, I see you. How are you doing? How can I help you have a better day? How can we turn this around? Maybe it's as simple as handing somebody a granola bar, right? Or giving them something to do. Like, would you help me pass these out? So it's helping shift their attention to something where they have a sense of purpose and responsibility and connection to the program. So both of these are challenges to you, considering where, when, how you might incorporate emotion check-ins like the battery charge or like any of these other quick emotion check-ins. So there's a handout in the learning guide so that you can try out a variety. And of course, we'd also love to hear from you if you have your own quick emotion check-ins that can be useful. Going to shift gears a little bit. We've talked about resilience being built through connection, and I want to just expand that a little bit. It's built through intentional activities that build connection to community or social connections, like we've talked about quite a bit in this series. It's also important to build connection to ourselves and to coping skills. So these connections to community, self, and coping skills are really do triple duty to build our resilience. So we've talked about community as social connections, so those healthy, supportive relationships. And I want to actually say that again, because I don't know if I've said it that way in the other videos. We're talking about relationships that are healthy and supportive. So intentionality around being healthy, being connected. And we can do that by our involvement in clubs, groups, team efforts, volunteering, service, through youth serving organizations and youth programming like after school programs, day camps, after, all of that kind of thing, libraries, rec centers, you name it. Also want to talk then too, we didn't really talk much about connections to ourself. Those are things like our exploring our strengths, our interests, hobbies, our culture, our background. That could also be discovering what we're good at, what we are really fired up by, and discovering how to really believe in ourselves by trying out new things. That's how we discover what we like, by trying new things out. That's how we discover what works, what coping skills work, by trying them out, experimenting, practicing. Also connecting to a sense of purpose and something maybe bigger than ourselves. So that might be a spiritual belief, or that might be a connection to something like nature, or a connection to that sense of community and culture and history. We can also find connection to ourselves by exploring physical activities. So thinking about youth serving programs, we are really there to build a community, both those healthy relationships between the adults who are working with the youth, as well as youth relationships. So really helping them develop those healthy peer relationships. We're also there to help them to develop that sense of who they are. And we are helping them develop healthy coping skills. So learning how to care for themselves and each other, how to connect with community as a way of caring for ourselves, because we are deeply relational, as we're talking about in this series. So we need each other. That's one of the ways that we cope and can care for ourselves. Giving opportunities to practice those effective coping skills that help us be healthy, including the important coping skill of asking for help when needed. Now, there are a few different coping skills. Here are some very basic ones, things like fueling, moving, and resting your body, paying attention and noticing to how you're feeling. So for example, either quick emotion check-ins like we're talking about here, or maybe deeper connections like that how are you authentic question, identifying emotions and coping skills, setting healthy boundaries in our relationships with other people, in our relationships with things like our phone and technology. How often are we using digital connections or scrolling, asking for help? And here's a bonus to the asking for help piece, accepting help when it's offered, talking things out, processing, figuring out how we express what we're going through, and because it's generally a good thing, taking deep breaths. I want to give you another tool to take a look at how we in youth serving organizations and programs can actually be promoting activities that support our mental health, also known as healthy, effective coping skills. So some are what I just mention to you, and this is a tool and a resource that can help you with everyday practice of this. So there is on the learning guide a link to an activation guide, which gives you a ton of information about how to actually implement this in your day-to-day programming. And I'm just going to give you an example. I'll let you use the activation guide to kind of figure out the details, but I'll just give you an example of how in a day camp setting, I and my team used these coping skills card. We call it the coping skills deck, or otherwise known as the mental health promotion activities. So we each day that we had program, we would start with getting the wiggles out, running around, just kind of playing for a little bit, getting a little bit of a snack if we needed it, and then an opening circle. Opening circle was a chance for us to talk about what we were going to do that day. We always gave kindness awards. So kids got to nominate each other for these kindness awards. So when they saw specific examples of kindness in a peer, they would nominate them, and each person would get an award when they got that nomination. And then we would do our coping skills cards. So we would ask if there was a volunteer, and there always were volunteers who wanted to pick a card and then help lead that activity, usually with the help of an adult, depending on their reading skills and their comfort talking in front of the group. So we would have a youth volunteer pick a card, and then we would help them practice it. Part of the framing of the coping skills cards where it's just an experiment. We're going to try as many out as we can this summer so that you have a chance to figure out which ones you like, which ones work for you. And then we also really like to try to figure out opportunities to say, how could you apply this coping skill in real life? So at home, when your sibling is bothering you, maybe you can take those deep breaths. Or when you're having a hard day and you want to get some more energy, you might want to do the activity where you notice the things around you, right? So really helping youth get a spirit of curiosity and experimentation. It's not about liking or not liking the coping skill. It's about trying things out to see what might work when you need them. So this is part of building a culture of connection, a culture of mental health, a culture of caring. So I'll let you look at the activation guide for the details on how to explore that further, but that's what it looked like in our program. So some takeaways from today's video as well as from the series. Positive social connection builds resilient kids who grow into healthy, connected, resilient adults. This should be sounding familiar to you at this point. Checking in regularly builds social connection and a culture of mental health. Finally, practicing coping skills regularly builds resilience, skillfulness, and a culture of mental health. Always, always, always ask for help when you need it. A reminder that 24-hour resources available to you from any phone in the United States, any time of the day or night. Dialing or texting 988 or texting HOPE to 741-741 will get you a trained and caring professional any time of the day or night to help you figure things out and get a little extra support or connect you to resources. Again, if you're in the Winona County, Minnesota area, our resource through Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week mobile crisis at 1-844-274-7472. And finally, as I have mentioned before, your feedback is really helpful to us. It gives us an opportunity to hear what you've learned and what we can do better. So please, if you would, scan the QR code and take 1 or 2 minutes to give us your quick thoughts on this series. A reminder that the Learning Guide has all kinds of tools and resources for you and some reflection questions. We invite you to really take an opportunity to practice these skills, try out these tools and resources, practice with them so that they can really become a part of a healthy, connected environment for you. Finally, as always, thank you for all you do to care for yourself and our communities. Resilient Winona County thanks you for everything you do, and We're so appreciative. We need each other. Please share what you learn. Please share the love. Please take care of you as you continue to care for young people and others in your community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye.